How you doing? I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. It's virtually impossible to have a positive life if you've got a negative mind. You know, negativity is just such an insipid thing that affects everything in your life. It affects your relationships, it affects your job, it affects how you exercise, how you view yourself, how you view your past, how you view your future, how you view yourself in the present time. When I'm talking about negative mind, I'm talking about negative thoughts. You know, we all see things in a different way, right? You know, similar ways maybe, but different. Everything that we do is based around our perceptions. You know, what we see, what we hear, what we feel, what we taste. You know, everything that comes in through our senses, and you know, to a large extent you can't control that. You know, you look out and you see what you see, you hear what you hear. What you can control is the thoughts, right? And how you interpret those perceptions, how you interpret life around you, how you interpret the things that you're doing. You know, this is where you have all your control, right? You can't control all your thoughts, but there's your conscious thoughts, the thoughts that are coming into your conscious mind. They're the ones that you can control. And you know, I've spoken about this before, where you know your thoughts turn into actions, and your actions can turn into behaviors and rituals, and then those behaviors and rituals can eventually turn into habits. And a lot of those habitual behaviors and habitual thoughts happen below the surface. You don't know that they're happening. You know, you're unaware that they're happening. But you can bring those unconscious thoughts and behaviors up to the surface, start thinking about them, and it's the only place that you can change them, right? Now, the problem with a negative mind or negative thoughts is that it distorts the world. You know, as I say, you see things in your own way. You see things through your own framework, and that framework is based on so many different things, right? From your education, from the time that you were born, right? And all the things that you've learned from that day, right? From the time before you were born even, but we'll stick to life on the planet. From everything that you've ever done in your life is sort of molding and shaping and directing your thoughts and the way that you see everything else in the world. So a negative frame of mind and negative thoughts are going to alter how you see the world, right? Now, a positive mind alters how you see the world as well, but having a positive mind and positive thoughts really directs you into a positive way, right? So it's only going to be positive for your life, right? And I'm not saying, right, that all negative thoughts are bad, right, and that you should never have negative thoughts, right? That's just bullshit, and it's something that none of us are ever going to do, never going to achieve in our lives, because it's impossible, right? We all have negative thoughts at one stage or another. But what we're talking about here is the way that you predominantly think, right? The direction that your mind is predominantly going, right? So negative or positive. And if you've got a predominantly negative bent in the way that you think, then it's impossible. I'm not even going to say virtually impossible. It's impossible to have a positive life. Now, if you think about it, your negativity, your negative thoughts become habitual. They start to reinforce each other. You know, one of the oldest things that the oldest parts of psychology, an old part of psychology, is Pavlov's dog, where they ring the bell and the dog salivates, right? And they've done this deliberately to the dog, so that he responds to a certain stimulus, and the response is a certain thing, salivation, right? And it used to be that he responded to the food, right? So then that's the natural response, is for the dog to see the food and to respond by salivating to this to the sight or the smell of the food, right? Or the can opening, right? You know, we've got cats at home and they start going mental as soon as the can of cat food, they hear it in the kitchen. As soon as that goes, they're around, you know, they're running around and screaming, and you know, that's what they're doing. So they've been conditioned to do that, right? And this is what we're talking about here, that your negative thoughts can reinforce, and you can condition yourself just to think negatively in this way, right? One negative thought conditions or reinforces another negative thought. So you've had a negative thought in the past, you have another one now, and that reinforces the negative thought in the past. And you know, we're taking two here, but you know, negativity comes in thousands and thousands and thousands of negative thoughts that are just reinforced and reinforced, and eventually you just see everything as shit, you know. But you can get out of it, right? That's the point. You know, that what you have to understand about negative thoughts is that they produce negative actions, right? They produce negative behaviors and rituals and habits of their own, right? That you, once you think negatively about a certain thing, then it's going to push you in a negative direction, right? If you think negatively about quitting drinking alcohol, for instance, then you know, it's not something that is going to be sustainable, because you know, we don't like negativity in our lives. Even though we might consistently think negative, right? We want that positivity. We want to try and draw in as much positivity as we can. Our whole lives are revolve around avoiding pain and pursuing pleasure. And negativity, negative thinking is painful, right? It's painful to think negative thoughts about ourselves, about our environment, about people around us, all that kind of stuff, right? So we don't like doing it. But negativity, negative thinking is damaging to your health. You know, it causes you to make wrong decisions. And whether it's regarding to your health or to your habits or whatever it is, you're not going to make the right decisions if you're thinking negative thoughts. You have to be positive. You've got to think positive if you want to have positive outcomes. You know, and I'm not saying that you're never going to have positive outcomes. If you think negatively, you will, but they're going to be more by chance than by design, if you know what I mean. So the first thing to understand about this, you know, I'm not going to go too deeply into this, just to close this off now, this video, just to say that, you know, you've got to understand where the root of all this negativity is, right? The negative mind is all based around the fundamental thing, which is the negative thought. So that's where you generally have to start. You have to start with the thought. You know, it's the thought that creates all the other things. We've talked about triggers in a lot of the videos. Alcohol triggers, what makes a certain behavior trigger off, what makes a certain ritual trigger off. And it all boils down to the same thing. It's a thought in your head, and the thought leads to either another thought or it leads to an action. Same thing with your negative thoughts. I mean, negativity is generally like a sequence of events that happen. Something happens on the outside, you think negatively, and then another negative thought, so on and so forth. So there's not much you can do about it if you're not aware of the negative thoughts. So the first thing is to become aware that you're thinking negatively, and then do your damnedest to replace the negative thoughts with positive thoughts. You know, replace the I can't do this with I can do this. You know, this negativity is along those lines. Is I can't do this, I can't say that. You know, like I can't go to this place. You know, I'm stopped from doing this because, you know, like for instance, I'll give you an example. A lot of people say to me that I quit drinking because I moved to a different country, and it was all right for me that I was able to do that, you know. And, you know, at the end of the day, it wasn't all right for me that I was able to do that. I had to make massive sacrifices in my life to be able to do that. And I had to think positively about each step of that way. I left my son back in Ireland. I mean, he is the person that I care about the most on this planet, right? End of story, right? Just met his granddaughter, just met my granddaughter, his daughter, and she's gorgeous, and I love her to bits, but I still love my son. and to make that, to take that decision to leave him behind in Ireland when he was just becoming a man, he was on that cusp of going from a child to a man, was a massive decision that I had to make, but I had to think about it from a positive perspective, right? I couldn't think about that from a negative perspective because I would have never gone. And if I had stayed in Ireland, I wouldn't even like to think where I would be now. So I had to make the decision. I had to take the tough choices, and I had to make the tough moves in order to be able to go where I am now. And I'm doing everything in my power to try and get my son to come over here. Believe me, right? Without short of kidnapping him, and tying him up and tying him to an airplane seat, which wouldn't be that good. But anyway, so negativity, no matter what way you look at it in life, it's always going to hold you back, because there's only you that can change it. Nobody else can change this for you. People can give you directions and say, well, this is the way that you should be doing things, but only you've got the answers in your own mind to all of these questions. You've got the solutions inside your own self to all of these questions. Everything that happens to you in life, whether it's you want to change from being a drinker to not being a drinker, when you want to quit smoking, whether you want to get a better job, whether you want to get a better relationship, whatever it is in your life, only you have the power to do that, right? And it starts with positive thinking, positive thoughts. Take it down to the most essential part, which is one thought after another, one positive thought after another. And just as negativity becomes a habit, positivity also becomes a habit in the long run. So look, until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for Alcohol Mastery. Stay safe, keep the alcohol out of your mouth, stay positive, and always remember that it's always got to be onwards and upwards, never backwards and downwards. Take care.